Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's special edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. And this one I'm calling special because it's a topic we don't talk about directly too much on this show, and it's spiritual in a big way. And there's misconceptions, judgments, yearning, desires, all of these different emotions and triggers and opportunities that come up when we talk about abundance. And what does abundance mean? And then what does it mean when we start bringing wealth components to it from a monetary standpoint? And so combining all of these different energies into the roots of the spiritual aspect that's being birthed through us through this one we'll call money right now, or abundance, and avatar that's playing this role for us in so many different ways is huge. And tonight's speaker we're so blessed to have, because Leisa Peterson not only understands the wealth component of it, again, the infinite abundance that's available in so many aspects, including the monetary, the prosperity, helping people getting past the scarcity. She understands the spiritual side equally. So on the show, we talk about the balance in between the masculine and the feminine leading, the masculine catching up, or vice versa, or leaving different paradigms. And Leisa, for me, is someone who has that balanced energy when it comes to this conversation. And I'm sure in other ways also, but for our specific purposes tonight, where she can meet in the middle of the polarity and really guide us into that point where we all get activated and have those ahas within ourselves that invites us into a receptivity, an understanding, and a compassion, and an expansion in our spirituality that's been ready to be born. And so this is going to be a fantastic conversation tonight. We will open up to Q&A. Leisa has an amazing special offer. We'll get into that a little bit later. But let me tell you a little bit more about Leisa. So Leisa Peterson is a Sedona-based author. She's a business strategist, money mindset coach, and podcaster. And I have to say, she's an adept intuitive. And that's it on your bio, Leisa, but I so feel it from you. She's an internationally recognized authority on bridging the gap between financial freedom and human spiritual potential. Leisa has a unique ability to draw from biology, neuroscience, philosophy, and spiritual teachings to create a synthesis of knowledge that helps people understand scarcity and prosperity in profoundly affecting ways. She's had the great fortune of witnessing thousands of money breakthroughs and financial healings as a result of the process she explores in her book, The Mindful Millionaire. And we're going to be talking about all this and so much more on tonight's call, y'all. So get teed up. If you have your cup of coffee, your tea, if you're hanging back on the couch, if you're in the car, pay attention to the road, obviously, but allow your ears to do some of the navigating in tonight's call. And we're going to go deep and wide, and again, also open up to Q&A. So if y'all want to ask Leisa your personal question, take advantage of this opportunity. And to do so, you can type your question into the chat box, into the Q&A box, or if you click on the participant icon at the bottom of your screen, it's typically where it is, it'll pop up another screen and it'll show you that you can raise your hand to ask your personal question. And Leisa, it's with that introduction that I want to welcome you to Beyond the Ordinary. God, it's been years since we've spoken, and I'm so glad that we're here. And again, it's in the midst of you doing this big launch, this book that's come out, these programs that are behind it. Yeah, it's so glad to finally have you on the show.
Thank you, John. I'm so excited to be here. And I have been following you for years. You were on my podcast a long time ago, and it's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Let's dive right in. Infinite abundance. That's big. And how do we start? It's like, okay, wait, am I drinking the water too fast? It's like, what's happening here? When you talk about infinite abundance, what does that mean for you?
The limitless nature of reality is what comes through in this moment. I think that my own journey of not coming from much money and then opening up to the potential has been kind of the story of my life. I don't think that I ever, even when I started my business 6 years ago, I had no idea what was in store for all of us. I really had denied myself from even experiencing what I now understand is this true sense of abundance. I didn't understand, because I think this is what happens for many people. We don't understand all the ways that scarcity is playing out in our lives and prevents us from seeing this potential, this limitless potential.
Well, let's go down to nuts and bolts. What are some of those things that are pointing to the scarcity that we keep grappling with in so many ways?
Well, obviously, in what's happening in the world right now, I think a lot of people have gotten the scarcity buttons triggered because of the pandemic, because of the lockdown. And it has caused many people to question things that they may have been able to avoid in the past. But to be clear, if it was there, it's kind of looming and we know it. We just don't want to look at it. And so what I have seen in all my research and all my experiences of working with people and their money for 30 years is that we are just continuously programmed throughout our life more along the lines of scarcity than abundance. We just take it as second nature that things are limited in their ability to be had. And it's not like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid of saying, you can have all the money in the world, you just have to dream it into creation. Like, I've been a financial advisor. I've built lots of wealth for myself and also made a lot of dumb mistakes with money. But what I have come to see is that depending on how we approach money and we approach our relationship with scarcity or abundance, basically changes the whole paradigm of how we live.
What are some of the things that let's just assume, let's prepare for the best and assume the worst. Let's say we're in total scarcity mode and it's paycheck to paycheck, or even worse, it's day to day. How do we start breaking out of the scarcity if we're living it, if our limbic nervous system is so wired that the triggers are just lighting up on a continuous basis because it's fight or flight every day?
Mm-hmm. I think that this is where the reason the book is called The Mindful Millionaire is because 21 years ago, I had that. Even though I had money, you just described me for most of my life.
Me too.
So
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't until I started meditating and learning what was actually happening in the conversation in my head that was running nonstop, both, inside and outside, in the ways that I was showing up in the world. Like, we have to gain some control over our minds to be able to even notice that we have the power to change what's happening inside of our heads. And that's the biggest shift. Without that, it's really tough to change the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Through the access of controlling the mind, and again, a lot of our listeners in the community, and me also, we've done our spiritual work. We've worked on limiting beliefs. We've gone back and healed relationships that were trauma-based, either with our parents, the way that we grew up, maybe pinnacle moments that really seemed to take something, that caused some type of energetic loss from ourselves, which of course puts our etheric body in kind of chaos, and our action taking ability in a place where we don't believe something's possible. How can we go back to reclaiming that aspect that you say of controlling our mind to start perhaps visioning or acting in a way that starts to repattern that anxiety, the anxiousness that runs with even just a conversation around money?
Yeah. So everyone's hearing this conversation from probably different places. I want to just place a little bit of emphasis on a few things. Number one, breath work is so powerful in helping us get out of that fight and flight pattern. So really paying attention to the breath. mindfulness and quieting the mind to see the conversation going on. But the third thing that I think was really the big like change in everything for me was melding the breath work and the mindfulness with the chakra system. Because what I found was that money is operating, and scarcity and fear that's running through our relationship with money is operating at so many different levels that if I just said to you, John, you have a money problem, it was too much to like change something. And I realized that we needed to go deep into the different levels, which the chakras showed me we could do to start to change those patterns, change the conversation. It was so important because again, it's like the hand in front of the face. All we see is one thing, and changing it is actually quite dramatic. And the cool thing about chakras is they actually are a quite dramatic teaching.
What do you notice from the chakras that that shift as people are going through this work, if they start working with the breath? And a lot of people from our show, a lot of our community, they practice meditation, they practice these breathing techniques, and I'll take it to different levels. Either there's a fear of scarcity, or there's a glass ceiling that it's like we keep bumping up the same threshold. It's like, and something wants to call us forward and we don't know quite how to get there. And sometimes that even causes us to revert backwards. And then there's those other people who maybe are financially stable, and there's a stability in it. But there's still something in the nervous system about over responsibility with it, about how to be in the relationship, the feeling that it could just leave at any time, that the rug can be pulled out or it can be siphoned. So there, again, I think there's different layers that all point to the exact same thing, just at different levels.
Yeah, and that's what I found with the chakras is that we have each different challenges that are coming up with us. I think that most people think about the chakras and they immediately go with money to the root chakra, which would be the most obvious one. And that's true. And that's actually the one that's been activated by the pandemic more than anything. Like when I was watching people in my community's response, it's this fear of survival, fear of safety. Fear of not being safe. But what I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, so help me out. But what I found was just exactly what you're saying. I work with people who have struggled with money all their lives to people who are multimillionaires. And it doesn't mean that they don't struggle with scarcity. I think that's a misconception. It isn't that way. In fact, I became a multimillionaire and I worried about money all the time. And that was what made me lean into there's got to be a better way, because just having the money didn't make the fears go away. But when I smashed up the chakras, I started to see the layers of how scarcity is playing out in the human experience. And that was the big, like, pivotal moment where, I mean, I get chills to this day because I was like, this is how we can start to change no matter what our experiences have been with money, how we can begin to reprogram what's happened to us in the past.
What did you see in the chakras that were running the similar energetics? Like, what did you see? So again, we would think of money as, again, you're right, as a root chakra type of thing. It's like, how is money playing out in the solar plexus, or how is it playing out in the throat, if you will? In the throat chakra.
So this will help people kind of already start to tune into what we're talking about. So the root chakra is safety. The sacral chakra, while it's known for creativity and creation, what I saw was it's deeply connected to our ability to feel. And what I noticed is when people find themselves in heavy amounts of debt, for example, and don't know why, the hole keeps getting dug. I noticed that there was a complete separation of feeling. They turned off the feeling capability. And what I call that is like worthiness. They forget that they're worthy to not be in debt. They forget that they're worthy to actually save money. So then you go into the solar plexus. This is power. What I noticed here is a lot of people won't lean into their power position with money, which means managing it, which means wielding it, which means saying, here I am, world, I can make a lot of money and it's okay. And I'm still spiritual, right? Mm-hmm. And then in the heart is giving and receiving. So this is around price and like undercharging or even overcharging when you're like, I'm taking these people to the cleaners and I know it, like noticing each of these also have like a recessive and excessive quality, but this is about giving and receiving. And then the throat chakra is about significance and trust. So as a financial advisor in my old world, I noticed that people are very interesting about trust and money. They either like completely give up all their responsibilities and they, abdicate to someone else because they don't trust themselves and they're more willing to trust someone else, or they only trust themselves and they don't trust anybody else. That's the throat chakra. Mm-hmm. And then the brow is really this bringing it all together, the integration of the wisdom and the experience, the practical experience. And then the crown is this place of abundance. So we're moving through these stages with our relationship with money all the time. And what's funny is some of us can have all of this figured out, but we don't on the lower or vice versa. And it makes it kind of fun it's like a scouting mission.
Scouting. I love that. I love it. It's, got so many questions I want to ask you, but I'm going to put myself in the hot seat for a little bit. So for me, as you describe the pushing off of it or being the one that's in control of it, I tend to be the one that would rather someone else just handle it. It's like, I know I have enough. I'm paying my bills. I can go do what I'm doing and it's fine. And someone else take care of it. Thank you, bookkeeper. Thank you, CPA. I'd rather not pay anything to that rest, but I know that I have to. Tell me how much I owe and I'll figure it out. And so there's something of an avoidance with it. But there's also a part of me that doesn't want to get into the daily aspect of it because I don't want to limit creation because I think I only have a certain amount of resources. And so that's an interesting play, but really what's leading is that I just don't want to deal. How would you work with someone like me to open something up and break through barriers that may be coming up in the belief systems?
So what I'm feeling is it's the throat and the solar plexus, which is interesting. Did you feel that a little bit?
I did. I feel definitely the solar plexus. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the throat now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just tuning into that. So that's those are the masculine chakras, interesting enough. So, yeah, like the immediate question I want to ask is there any pattern around avoidance that you can feel like, yes, there's a spiritual connection to avoidance, but is there also sort of a like, yeah, that's not fun?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the resistance is, it's like leaning into it with this playful curiosity of like, why might I not? Because I do feel like we know when we've got something and there's no resistance. Like that is all we're trying for. It's not like I have an answer and I'm going to say, this is what you should do, John. But it's enough to say, let's get curious about what might be there.
Right. Right. And then through the steps in the process, we start unraveling or disentangling the limitations, the limiting beliefs, and start gaining more of authority over our mind then.
Yeah. And just like probably a lot of the people that have been here before and spoken to you, there are often these they seem meaningless events that happen when we were growing up that in this case for you, the big thing that's coming through is somebody took money away from you and you do not like having money taken away from you.
Right.
And so that there was this disempowerment with money. So that leads to this feeling like if I pay too close attention to it, somebody's going to take it away from me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. It's funny how it plays out in different ways in the way that you're able to tune in. And you teach people through the process and all that how to discover this within themselves, right?
Yeah, it's super fun. Yeah, both the book and then the programs I create, like all these ways, and it's just inquiry. It's curiosity. It's and inspired by desire, right? We all need to feel like maybe this isn't what's really serving me.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's certain people that are just money focused. It's like, that's it. That's their thing. They're going to succeed. That's how they're going to, that's the barometer, and wonderful for them. A lot of people in this community, and you may be driven by all aspects of y'all, so I don't mean to lump everybody in it, but just as an example, we're led by spirituality, exploring the energies, discovering more about ourselves, and the money's kind of like over here a little bit. How can we bridge those worlds so that it doesn't have to be one or the other, or one at the expense of the other?
So right before we started today, I was burning sage, and in that moment, what is sage? Sage is like a tool to clear the air for the space of opening and awakening. Money is actually just like sage. It is a tool, and that is it, right? So as we instead of giving it so much attention the way that some people do, a lot of people, or avoiding it, again, excessive and recessive, all we're looking for is neutral ground in this relationship with money, so that when we show up with it, we become abundant. Because this is also interesting, we didn't talk about this, but this is tying in the science and the biology. When we're scarce, we get a myopic vision of every situation we are presented with. We lose 13 points in IQ. We make
Oh, wow.
stupid decisions. And the problem right there is that we are trying to change the approach that we have. So when we go to neutral, we go to tool, money as a tool, we're no longer stuck in the scarcity pattern where we make stupid money decisions. And seriously, that was, as a financial advisor, as somebody who worked with money for years, I was always asking myself, why are people doing these things? And oh, by the way, why are you doing these things? Like I could see the patterns again and again, and I had to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, and again, the quote unquote stupid financial decisions, which we all have made at one point in our lives or another, they wind up being stupid relationship decisions. They wind up being stupid health decisions. They wind up being points of self-betrayal that we go back and go, I can't believe I did that to myself. And so there's this cycle of guilt and shame and fear, and it keeps building up, and the avoidance keeps building up. Or the distraction of how we try to make one thing better so that we don't have to look at something that isn't working well for us. It creates that unbalanced life, and that leads to suffering in so many different layers.
It does. And I'm playing with that word. I want to be clear, like part of this work, what's so important, because money is so oriented to guilt and shame, and that's part of the conditioning,
Yeah.
is like absolute judgment-free space in everything. So
Yeah.
I can make fun of myself because I've done some pretty silly things,
Me
but
too.
like I say that with such love and compassion and understanding that in any given moment, we are always doing the best we can, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to say this because some of what we're talking about can be really, really triggering for folks. And I just want everyone to know, like, we are right there with you.
I love it. You're awesome. And I want to trigger a little bit also, because it's
Okay.
because it's going into the intimacy of those things again, which we avoid. It's the light and the shadow. It's the yes and the yes. And when we can be with all of it, and again, get to that neutral spot in the polarity, whether it's with money, whether it's with our light and shadow, whether it's with anything that we're judging in one way or another, triggering isn't necessarily a bad thing, only if we avoid it because of a certain judgment that we have through a lens of um, where we're persecuting ourselves or someone else in that label. And if we can come to the awareness that that's what's happening, it's really easy with compassion to have it land more in the middle. And from there, like you said, Lisa, our IQ increases. We can see the field wider. Our clarity, even from our channeled information or guidance, expands, and the flow starts to increase in different areas of our life, which eventually will catch up into those areas that perhaps seem the most stifled. So it's a beautiful conversation.
You know, I want to share too that 21 years ago, I began this spiritual journey that continues to this day. And for the first 14 years of that journey, I kept money completely separate from my spiritual journey. I could not figure out how to bring these worlds together. And I think it's because of what we're hinting around and what you had asked me about before. Like, I'm like, going into these incredible realms of understanding and awakening to my, soul's delight. And then I was like, and then there's this thing called money. And at one point I was on long retreat counting hundreds of thousands of mantras. And I asked the divine, I said, what's happening here? I'm actually trying to let go of money completely from my consciousness and kind of drop away from it. But I'm becoming wealthier than I ever imagined. And I'm sitting in a closet doing mantras. And the words that came in, which was so interesting to me to this day, so this is back in like 2006, 2007, was you, in this incarnation, you actually need money so that you can be free to help other people not struggle with it. And so I feel like money and the way it shows up in our lives is the teaching. It is the tool. It is the way that we actually learn what we're here to learn. And just like business, just like our relationships, just like the health of our body. But many of us push it away thinking it's impossible to integrate.
Right, right. It's interesting. I had a conversation with a coach I was working with. It's amazing. Y'all may recognize her, Brenda Gilmore, and we're having a conversation about money and expanding financial capacity and really allowing the flow of it to fall in. And we got to the point, and she led this, and it's so sage, I'll call it. Like, don't you want to make changes in the world? Don't you want to be have a positive impact on humanity? It's like, absolutely. What do you think causes change in the world? What leads it? The economy leads it. Financial flow leads it. Follow the money and you'll find who's influencing the world in lots of different ways. So to not charge, to believe that you have to be the part-time coach or spiritual counselor for someone, and to not really embed yourself in it full time because there's no money to support you. And so you have to have your CPA job, or you're teaching somewhere else, or you're the secretary or the CEO in another place, but doing this on the side because you're supposed to tithe it, you're supposed to give it. It's spirituality. It's something that should be free. Yes, and what if those that were in the spiritual industry were the ones that were making the money, like the pharmaceutical companies and the military developers and the automobile growers and the petroleum companies? What if we were making the money? How would that influence advertising? How would that influence what's shown on TV? How would that influence what we consume on a daily basis? So who would you rather have running the show? That consciousness or this consciousness? Not that this consciousness is bad, but if we're looking for a different way, if we're looking to change the structures that have been inherent for so long and which have formed our environment now, who would you rather have holding the purse strings? Transparency or scarcity? Because a lot of those industries are built on scarcity. And so it's fascinating. And so to have this relationship and awareness of the power and the majesty that the energy of abundant flow can have in our life, it's impactful in so many different ways. But the old programming is shifting. And it's teachers like you that are showing that there's different ways, empowered ways to have relationship, and really awaken those cells within our body to be receptive to love in all forms.
So beautiful.
So I want to ask you, Lisa, what type of changes or shifts or results have you seen in clients that you work with that have gone through your programs, that have gone into your book and followed the steps that you give to them?
Yeah, it spans all sorts of different situations. And I want to say that people always comment that they come for the money, but then they have these realizations in all the other areas of their lives. One that comes to mind just recently happened, which just by looking at a framework that we kind of went through earlier about how the chakras laid out, she realized that that she had been raised in a very wealthy home, and now she was trying to start her business and get her business going. And she was struggling with charging money in her business. And what she realized was, in the meditations, in the practices, she figured out that because money had always been available to her, like she crashed a car in high school and immediately a brand new car was on the driveway. You know, like she was a single kid, she got everything she wanted. She goes, I don't have scarcity issues. And she said, but then I heard about what was going on in the heart chakra. And she said, oh my gosh, because I have always equated money with love. If I needed something, my parents gave it to me. And now that I'm in business and I'm charging people, I feel like every time I ask somebody to pay me something, I'm asking them to love me. And it's not working. But the realization in that moment of this pattern broke her free of that belief system. And immediately she was able to begin charging and enjoy her work without thinking, because she could catch her beliefs and say, wait, I'm not asking them to love me. That's kind of creepy. I mean, it can be that simple.
Wow.
You know, does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. So I have to ask, because I saw this question pop up from Anna. And Anna, thank you for asking. I'm sorry, from Anne. Anne wants to know, so what's your work? What is it that you do?
I share unconditional love with the world. My work is coaching and group coaching for business owners, as well as writing books, teaching mindfulness practices that integrate this work for folks. But it's funny because I've definitely been spirit-led over the past 6 years. I left a financial advising business. I no longer manage people's money because I was way more curious about how I could help people find this limitless nature. And I experiment with a lot of different approaches.
So you bring those approaches into firm practice and ground them in, and people's lives change accordingly.
Yeah, and sometimes it involves looking at people's financial situations and figuring out like what needs to happen differently. That just happens because I've been in the money business for 30 years. But a lot of times I want to see what's underneath, what's causing the pattern for money to show up the way that it has. And if we can get to that, it's like the difference between giving someone fish dinner or teaching them to fish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So, Lisa, I want to get into some Q&A. So there's a few people with their hands raised, and we're gonna get to y'all. And if you guys want to raise your hand, click on the participants box or icon. There you go. It's the icon. Found the word finally. Click on the participants icon at the bottom of the screen, and you'll find the place where you can raise your hand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert y'all that have your hands up into panelists. Once you come on board, please mute yourself, or please don't unmute. And when it's your turn, we'll ask you to unmute. So Mark Hernandez, dude, really? He's trying to be funny. Let's see here. Can you tell someone where they have a financial block, Lisa? Is that how you work? Because someone's asking about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, as
So,
long as we can go back and forth. So I'm going to ask a few questions, and as long as they're comfortable, it's not like so I'm clairaudient and I'm listening for where it is. So that's why I ask questions.
okay, excellent. All right, well, let's go. Y'all get on the video then. If you're going to type in your questions, awesome. But let's get you on audio and video so that we can do a little bit of this back and forth. So let's start with Juliet. Can you unmute yourself? Awesome background, by the way. My God, where are you?
This is New York City. I took this photo last year.
Okay.
You were amazing on Judy Satori's podcast, weekend thing. So
thank you so much.
You made me cry. So Lisa, what I wanted to know is I've had issues with money since I was 17. I know I'm smart. I know I have confidence issues, but I'm going to own this because as of today, I'm like, no more putting myself down. I'm playing big. And I know I'm supposed to help people and serve in this world, but I have to learn to serve myself because I'm amazingly generous and not with myself. I just give. So anything you can share would be amazing.
Yes. Okay. So we're talking about receiving. And so tell me, so what is the resistance with receiving? Why is it so hard?
Because I know I've been put on this earth to serve. And I was told, I was very abused growing up. And then I turned that into self-abuse mentally, not physically, but mentally. And so when you're told you're unworthy, my mother still calls me a loser, and I'm like much older than you think I am. I just look really young. And so I've heard this for since I was a baby. So it's constant. And I know the universe is telling me to get over this. I do.
So tell me what inspired you to say it's time to change this.
Because I realized that that I keep helping people and they're having breakthroughs and I keep doing it for free. Mm-hmm. And because spiritually I have such issues with money, I'm so blessed. We all are to have these spiritual gifts that I have. I am so honored. And I feel like it's such a blessing. How could I charge people, especially when I see someone suffering? I may have suffered. I can handle the biggest amount of suffering. I don't want to see anyone even crying. I want to help them.
So thank you. So you heard me talk about, this is the heart chakra, right? So giving and receiving, the understanding that it's actually a complete cycle. I think that we've been given very mixed, wrong messages around give, and then not replenishing. Like the idea so the first thing coming is draw pictures about that circle, have that circle be everywhere. So half the circle is one arrow of giving and one is receiving. For you, it's also, so it's self-love. It is self-love in the heart chakra. It's recognizing that this is something that you have pushed away because it's uncomfortable, but that you don't want to push it away anymore. So every bit that you're bringing in is going to help fill it. And I also got, are there people in your life who could give you something on a daily basis as a reminder, as maybe for 2 weeks, they are sending you an email with certain things, but you set them up and then you receive it, not you giving it, but someone giving it to you. And then you sitting in silence with the receiving of what's being given.
I feel so weird depending on other people and leaning on them. I mean, even the woman today, she's like, you just spent 2.5 hours with me for free. Next week, it's going to be you. I'm like, no, let's do more with you.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying you've got to change the pattern practically in little teeny steps, just to allow yourself and your nervous system to get used to receiving. Okay. And I think that will allow you to start moving in the direction that you want to move in.
Can I ask one other quick question?
Do you see John
getting clients this month?
Okay. Say that again.
You see me getting paying clients. I'm amazing at attracting free people.
I think that you want to do this exercise. I think that asking for help is part of it. So ask for help, receive for at least a week. And yeah, sure, this is totally going to set you up for that.
Beautiful.
Thank
Juliet, I'm going to give you 2 statements to work with every day.
Go for it.
Yeah, some of y'all know these statements. Y'all know where I'm going. So the first one's, I deserve to be loved.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and feel that one. Feel that one in that beautiful heart that we're talking about. Like, let that sink in as you write it. And the other one's, I deserve to receive love. Maybe a third one, I deserve to feel safe.
That one really struck a chord.
All three of them together, they're an alchemy for you energetically, also into opening to the space that Leisa has. So just, God, you're so good at this, Leisa. Yeah, use that in combination with that, and it'll be this catalyst for you. Receive, you deserve it.
Thank you.
It's funny, and I want to stay on this actually, Leisa. It was last year, I was at a coffee shop, and it's a coffee shop that I frequent all the time, and they're always so generous with me, and I have fun with them, and I always tip really well whenever I go. But there was one girl that worked there, and she really wanted to give me like this free cup of coffee, and I was like, but no, as you know, other times I said, I'll just pay for it. It's not a big deal, and thank you so much. But something told me, it's like, no, don't do your normal pattern. Just receive it. And the receiving wasn't for me. What she received from my receiving her, I felt in her so strongly. It made me well up. It's like, and then I had to look at myself as like, where am I withholding love? Because I'm not willing to receive. Someone that just really just wants to give to me. It's like, that's their act of love, and them being received, you can be healing their whole life in that moment and not even know it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Juliet. Amazing. All right, Leisa, let's go to the next caller. Pierina, hello.
Hi, John. Thanks for calling me.
Yeah.
So I've always had a pattern of only making a certain amount of money. Now I think I've worked my way up to like $2,000 a month. It's embarrassing, but I can't seem to move past it. And I actually bought some property years ago, 2007 in Toronto. Then it boomed and I made some money, a lot of it, and I moved out back to my family, and I ended up spending it, like living off of it, because I wasn't really making enough money. So now I'm back to, it's like, obviously I can't keep that money and I can't make more, and I have a trouble charging people for money. I just want to give my gifts away for free. So if you can help me somehow, that would be amazing.
So just like what Juliet was talking about with receiving, there's another component that I'm hearing here for you. And it's interesting because these are the sorts of themes that I explore in what we'll be talking about later too. But receiving is one action. Another action is actually expansion. And expansion is what we're talking about here for you. So I do an exercise sometimes, and I'm just kind of tuning into it right now. And I'm just going to give it to you, and then you could try it when the call is done tonight. What I want you to do is stand in a position, and what you're going to do is you're going to kind of look out. So maybe have 10 feet in front of you, and there's going to be 4 steps along this 10 feet, and you're going to be walking. The first is going to be, this is who I am today. Feel that, feel you. The next step is going to be what I want you to do is, let's say you set yourself sights on $5,000, like a really big stretch goal. I do want you to go something big. So that would be the 10 feet out. And as you're walking, I want you to feel what it would feel like to be at $3,000, at 7,000, or, whatever the numbers are. But as you go, each time you step, you're allowing that number to go up. And I want you to feel energetically what's happening to you in that walk. And then when you get to the end of the walk, I want you to stay there at that big number. And then I want you to actually walk back and retrace what it feels like to be in those numbers again. And you may do this exercise over and over again, but what you're doing is you're retraining your understanding of the uncomfortableness of having more and what it feels like to be where you are today, to the point where you are today becomes uncomfortable and that next step becomes comfortable.
Okay. So I just like pick a number, like 1,000, each step is $1,000 more. Are you talking about per month?
What you're doing is, let's say it's $5,000 that you would like to eventually be making on a monthly basis.
Right.
So it's between 2 and 5. So 2 is now, 5 is the 10 feet out, and you pace yourself. And you might find that it's like you hit these numbers where you're like, I'm going to stand here for a little while, or you may even feel tears because you're realizing how you've made that outside of possibility, and you're just becoming more familiar, comfortable with the energy of more. And it's just, there's other things that we'll talk about later that can do this expansion, but that one just came for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Go do that, Pierina. Oh, it sounds amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
So good. Leisa, you're rocking it. We're going to get into Leisa's special offer in a little bit. I want to take one more caller because I feel something else is just wanting to flow through. And then we'll take calls afterwards also. So y'all hang out. I'm loving this, Leisa. This is so, it's like now we're really cooking. Who am I picking on? Let's go to Kendra. You're sticking out energetically so loudly. It's like, how are you? Can you mute yourself?
Hi. Oh my God. I love that advice, Leisa. It's so great. And I'm going to totally do that. And because I feel like I'm at a crossroads and I'm ready to like step forward and like build. And like, it's like new for me to build like in a healthy manner. So I love that advice, and it's really helpful for me. I guess I just feel like I have some blocks that I'm ready to let go, but it does feel uncomfortable, like expanding, like what you're saying, So I guess any advice on how to move forward gracefully and releasing the fear of like making money and building wealth.
And I was talking earlier about some of the beliefs, which was stronger, the sacral, like worthiness, or the solar plexus power for you?
Yeah, I feel it like those are opening up for me like recently, and like heavy blockages moving. And then I feel like my throat as well is like starting to open up. But yeah, wanting to like restrict, I guess, and like I'm more aware that I'm like holding, I guess.
What happens to you if you don't achieve your goals?
I think it's like just giving up, or like self-sabotage in a sense, or like old patterns. But I feel like I've let go of a lot of my old patterns, and I've made a lot of healthy choices that it's exciting to be able to visualize moving forward, like what you were saying.
So let's do one thing. There's something here, and I understand the positive spin, but there's something here that's really wanting to be said. So can you just tune into that and give me what that is? Like, is it fear of failure or something else?
It's like fear of being judged, I guess.
Okay.
Or yeah, it feels like, I don't know, fear of success.
So stay with judged and go into judged. Tell me what's there. What color is judgment? And where is it?
It's like black in my like hip, I guess.
Did you come from a home growing up that you had money?
So, not necessarily. Like, my extended family had money, but my family didn't really have money, and it was very stressful. Like, my parents would fight about money, and I guess we didn't really have a lot of money, but we weren't like poor, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because what is interesting is the root chakra is a masculine, like I was talking about, the solar plexus. Um, hmm, hmm. So interesting for you. It's actually leaning into the pathway for money to you is leaning into the more yin qualities of whatever's calling to you, and then trusting that that very yin energy will actually provide you with the security and the safety that you want. It feels like there was like, I have to do certain things to be able to be successful, more practical things. But what's coming through is that you can trust that these more feminine, yin, spiritual passions, they have the ability to support you. You don't have to worry. And when those fears come, that you should do something maybe more practical, be able to know that it's just a programmed pattern that goes back to early life.
Yeah, my mom was very about being practical, and like when I would dream like of like goals, it would be just always shot down. So it was very like I would like close off from it because it would like hurt so much to like want to succeed and share your dreams, and then it's not very. But she was trying to be practical, and like also I feel like it all ties into our lineage with my mother's lineage and like everybody. But I can really see how my grandmother coming from the depression period, and then my mother, and I can see how like the times how it like flowed, and like how I'm still carrying some of their patterns like you're saying.
Yeah. But I think the difference, and I play with this all the time. So like the root chakra is something my mom gave to me too. So I hear what you're saying. But what I notice, and this is what's so cool when we do this kind of work for our profession, is that people are very, very quick to reward, to tell me how much they appreciate what we're doing here. And so it helps me to reinforce that it is good to lean into these gifts, and that more than enough abundance can come from them, and that I don't have to always be figuring out all the practical stuff in order to be successful, that it's okay to play and have fun and have that be the way that we make money.
That's great. Kendra, thank you so much for calling in and for sharing.
Thank you so much, John. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for picking me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So something that Kendra was saying, Lisa, also pointing to the practicality around money, it's like love, and you can feel where there's a withholding of love, like because you're trying to hold on to a particular vibration of being, and you're so afraid that if you don't hold on to that the rug is going to be pulled out from under you. And Kendra, when I got into the fear for you, it was the rug's going to be pulled out from under me. It's not safe. It's going to be pulled out. It's like I can build, and if I don't do it the right way, or if it's not practical the way that is embedded in my cellular memory through the lineage, that's going to be pulled out, and I can't be creative. I can't do this. It's not going to be accepted. I'm doing it wrong. All these different things come up around it, Lisa. And again, it's learned, and it really, again, it's a withholding, thinking that you're creating security, but it's having an effect that really creates inertia instead.
So true.
Yeah, so amazing. Thank you, Kendra, for calling in. Y'all, I'm going to take more questions because what Lisa's leading here is just absolutely fantastic. And Diane, I love what you wrote. I want to get to that as well. But y'all, we have to go to the special offer because this is practical and expanding. For me, it goes up and down and out. And when you hit that cross point, you know that really something is being birthed that perhaps wasn't there before. So this special offer is, again, I'm excited to present it to you here on BTO. You can get to the special offer. April, I'm sure will type it into the chat any minute now. See, there you go. Boom, it's in the chat. You can click on the special offer there. You can go back to where you access this video call from on the live page, click on the special offer button, or type into your web browser, beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Leisa23. And Lisa spelled Leisa. The number 23 will take you to that same page. And Lisa, guide us through this wonderful journey that you're going to take us through in the special offer.
Yeah, thank you. So this is my baby. My whole entire life changed when the chakras came into my relationship with money and started to show me how to heal the past and then create the future that we want. And I think that's what everything I do is oriented to. But this program that I call Infinite Abundance has 4 parts to it. And it's totally what we've been talking about here. Like, we noticed that there is this energy that a lot of us are holding on to, even before you get into the stories, just this energy that we carry with ourselves. And many of us as intuitives and empaths, we see it in ourselves and we see it in others. And so the first stage of the process is learning about the model, the framework that I shared with you, and how the chakras can become a powerful way to clear energy and to change the energy that we're approaching money with. The second stage is reprogramming the stories, the experiences that we've had with money. The third stage, I'm going to go through this quickly, and then John, you can help me come back.
Yeah.
The third stage is around what we talked about, these 2 super important ways of receiving and learning about expansion. So I'm going to say all of us have been trained with that story. It's better to give than to receive. We've all heard that. And what I have found is that when we learn how to receive and we learn the ways that we haven't been and the ways that we want to be going forward, and we start to put it in daily practice through our, like, the meditations, and I'll talk about that, everything changes. But on top of receiving, we also, when we're ready, maybe not the first time through, but eventually we'll notice there's an opportunity for expansion. So first we have to learn how to receive better, and then we learn about expansion. Purina is a little different. She's going to go and do some expansion tonight right away. But then the last part is around creating. So once we've cleared the energy, we've reprogrammed, we've learned about opening ourselves to receive and then expanding, then we're set in a position of creating the life that we want, creating the sort of relationship that we want with money. And so all 4 of those stages are part of the special offer. But what I did, because I've been teaching meditation for almost 30 years, is I realized that if I could seed plant these teachings, in less than 30 minutes a day for 1 month, I could change people's lives and their patterns around abundance forever. Many people do this practice, but they do it over and over again because they have such big success with it, they want to continue. But not only that, there's one meditation in particular that I created this. I've been meditating for 21 years. I created this meditation about 3.5 or 4 years ago. Not a day goes by without me doing it now. And many of my clients have been doing it for years, because we just notice it's like a checkup that you do every day to make sure that you're in alignment with abundance as you start your day. So that's kind of a summary, but John, do you want to help me out and tell me what I've missed?
Well, I don't think you've missed anything. And I love it in here as I go through the special offer page that you got into statements, again, from the scarcity lens to the prosperity lens, much like I was sharing with Juliet. And actually, I want to take this into a practice with everyone here on the call and just repeat the lines that I say after me and notice how it feels in your body. And we'll go to a simple one. Just repeat out loud, I am not enough. Say it out loud. How does that feel in your body too? Notice and allow yourself to assimilate to the wave of what the emotional tone creates in the alchemy of your physical presence. Be in relationship with that, because the more that you can attune to that, the more that you can make a conscientious choice of where you want your chemistry to go. Now, as you feel that, feel the prosperity lens of this and say this out loud, I am enough. And feel that in your body as well. Now, knowing the two ends of the spectrum, how would you rather feel? How would you rather evoke that within your being? How would you rather be in relationship? And by knowing the feeling of both, you can choose which relationship more consistently over and over again to get you into that state of beingness. We've been run for far too long through many things that would have us say we're not enough. Social media's been kicking our ass with comparison. Money is a big aspect. Receiving love, not being pretty enough, not being handsome enough, not being tall enough, not being whatever it is. We've been pummeled with those aspects. Try I am enough for those 30 days while you're doing this program also, and try all these prosperity lenses. And I'm sure Leisa's going to take you into like a whole new world of it anyway. That alone for me, if you do that just by itself, it will change your life. But this is only a glimpse of what's in this package, Leisa. So it's so wonderful. And another point I want to bring up also, and again, it's a reference. It's not on the sales page here. And by the way, this is only $97. It's going through Leisa, and they'll get the downloads and the access to it right away. And we're talking about financial prosperity now. There's, I don't know what you would call Buckminster Fuller. Was he a mystic, a philanthropist? What was he? He's just this amazing brain and being of a human that a lot of people are very familiar with for innovating and creating solutions and thinking about the new world. A dear friend of mine a few days ago told me the awareness that they had of Bucky had such an abundant mindset that at the end of every month he would write out the last dollar in his checking account, knowing that the very next month he was going to create exactly what he needed to not only support himself, but to give out to the world as well. So every month he was at zero balance, and he would start over and over and over again. And this man was incredible in what he channeled through, what he embodied, and the gifts that he gave to humanity through science, through technology, through his mysticism. It's beautiful. And this is the abundance, the infinite abundance that I believe that we're all stepping into in these new energies that are filtering in, and we're choosing to receive them in a way that we never have before, or we're aware that we could. And so, Leisa, this program and what you're teaching and the essence of the infinite abundance and the freedom that it engenders, it goes way beyond money. But why not use money and play with it and have fun with it at the same time? This is fantastic, Leisa. Again, y'all, take advantage of this. It's $97. You'll start getting the downloads right away. And is there anything else? Do they get the recordings right away? How does it work, Leisa?
Yeah, so everything is on Thinkific. So it's just like a regular course where you could consume everything if you wanted to just do a retreat for a few days. And you're going to have access to it. But what we added and
bonuses, oh my God, yes.
Yeah, there's bonuses, and depending on how you like to consume content, because I'm a meditator and I like reminders, if you push a button on the first email, it starts a daily email for the 28 days. And then that is me at 4 a.m. in your time zone delivering a meditation, a video, journaling exercises, like that's all part of the practice, because again, it's like a comprehensive experience that we have been tweaking and adding to, and thousands of people have done the practice and helped contribute to make it even better, because people gave me feedback and they're like, could you add this meditation? Could you do this? This is a bit too much. Like, listening to these folks guide us to make sure that this was having the biggest impact. But then you also get some deep dive workshops. We've also included recordings from past sessions where I've done it live, but you get to be the one in charge. If you want to spend 30 minutes a day, you can do that. If you want to go into the deeper dive workshops that we give you, you can do that. But again, it's whatever your appetite is. You'll know if it's calling to you. There's so much there.
This is great. Yeah, y'all, the first bonus, it just popped for me. Identifying your money shadows workshop. It's like, yes. And so, oh, who was it? I forgot your name. I am so sorry. She was, wait, it's coming to me because I'm going on 3 different trains of thoughts, and I want to be very respectful of names. It'll come to me in a second. I lost it. I apologize. On the call earlier, she was talking about her mom's patterns and how we were repeating. Anyway, she said, I want it to happen with grace. I want it to happen with grace. And my invitation for all of y'all, what if it doesn't have to happen with grace? What if it's messy? What if it's all over the place? Who gives a crap? Just do it. You're already equipped. You've been through enough stuff. You know how to navigate this stuff. Don't wait for the grace to show up. You are the grace, and it'll flow through you and it'll acclimate to you. Don't be afraid of the shadow aspect. They're actually loving you in ways that we need to look at it in a different way. So the shadow aspect just lit me up, Lisa. So exciting. And then the other one, Infinite Healing Method and Money Breakthrough Workshop, which is, oh, I can feel that in my heart already. This is jam-packed, Lisa. This is a great program. Y'all take advantage of it. Again, to get to it, click on the link in the chat box that April sent over. You can find it on the live page by clicking the special offer button right next to Lisa's picture, or you can type into the web browser beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Lisa23, Leisa 23. I have to keep looking away because I have to register how to spell Lisa, which is cool. Lisa, thank you for putting this together. This is fantastic work. And y'all, let's take some more questions. Lisa, are you open to some more Q&A?
Yeah.
All right. Who's next? Lucia, let's go to you. Will you unmute yourself?
And John, if you wanted to, depending on time, we could do a meditation, or we could just answer questions, whatever feels good.
Let's feel into it. Let's go to Lucia first. Hi, Lucia.
Thank you for having me. So yeah, I feel like the long story short is I have been very lucky to have been working for my mom all of my adult life. And as, of course, I'm sure you know that's complex with the money thing, because it's like I get paid well for work that I'm good at, and I am a coach. She's a coach. I was lucky to be raised by a coach. But it's always been tricky because it's like, also I feel like I'm getting paid by my mom. So now that she's really stepping into retirement, I'm really stepping into like ownership of my life, and I'm really, really making an effort to not work for her as much as work for myself. I'm just finding like it's like a new hurdle, and I think I'm outgrowing sort of like the overgrown little girl syndrome, where like I never talk about money and I always do self-deprecating humor, and that's part of my personality. But like I'm wondering like if I kind of need to like almost change the way I'm presenting myself to just step up to the next person I'm becoming, rather than like letting it slowly over time catch up, because I kind of feel like I give off the vibe of someone who doesn't make money.
Thank you.
I mean, look at my tattered shirt right now, literally like.
What brings you joy in making money?
I feel really great when I feel like I not only am doing work that is working for people, that is like really top notch, but I'm also being valued for it. I mean, I feel like a boss when I'm being valued for the work that I do really, really well. And I can hold my head up high like I'm one of the best in the world because it's all evident here, you know, like the experience and the pay.
That's beautiful. When you look at the price structure of what has been created in the past, and now that you're taking it over, are you noticing any desire to change it?
Yeah. So my mom is like a reluctant success. Like she's all about relationships. She's never wanted to show off. It's always been kind of weird about money, like driving a beat up car, but then like doing really well. So I have no desire to play that game, and I have no desire to like pretend that I'm not a big person. So that's the difference.
Yeah. So this is interesting to just notice what would be a lot. I mean, if you feel comfortable, if you don't, it's okay. But like, what's a lot of money for you to make on an, like, what's a lot of money? And then what do you want to make? And are they the same or different?
Yeah. So a coaching session at rate for me is $220. And I almost always negotiate against myself because I want to be of service. It's almost like I just feel like I'm not meeting the people who can meet that price range right now, which has a lot to do, I think, with like attraction. And so that's something, is that like 220 is like the standard I want to hold for my coaching. And my financial goal, just to be super vulnerable, because I'd like to get as much out of this interchange as I can. My financial goal, like my big dream, which would just make me like cry, I'd be so happy, would be $10,000 a month. So I sort of have that number as like my big goal.
Okay, so this transition is all about money for you. It is all about $10,000 to me isn't as much as it is to you. But I'm going to say to you, based on your confidence level in your coaching skill, I was expecting you to say $30,000 or $40,000 a month. Okay. So, and John, any thoughts there? I mean, could you feel like the confidence? It's bigger than that number. Let's put it that way.
I do. I think that number is based on your environment where other people think perhaps is a lot for them, but I don't think it's your real number.
Yeah. And so the way that you're going to make this transition is by a few things come to mind. Who you're surrounding yourself with. Because when you're with people who think $20,000 or $30,000 a month isn't a lot, it will infect you in one way or the other.
Yes.
But the cool thing is that you're going to use the money to actually make this your own. You're going to infuse all of these aspects of yourself into the business as you grow into a bigger number. And what's fun is it's merely a reflection. It's a tool to embody the power that you feel in the impact that you're making in your clients' lives.
It's beautiful.
Wow.
You know, a good exercise for you, or an invitation, is to keep your 220, and you can either put 10% aside to tithe to scholarship to people who really need it.
Yes.
Tithing is huge. And you're making it, and you're creating flow, and your work is being valued. So if you feel that you want to be of service to others, create the abundance within yourself and allow that abundance to flow in ways that feel good to you, so that you're not holding yourself back for the sake of someone else, because the sacrifice model just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
Because we're here to create abundance in our lives. Abundance of love, abundance of health, abundance of the expression of money as a way to support us, so that our unique artistry, our gifts, in the way that our system is set up, can be shared in the world. If we lived in a time where we were traveling from one village to the next, and Diane, this is a little bit touching on your point, and we're supported with food and shelter, and that was abundant in that way back then perhaps that old model would work. But we're very much functioning from the structures of an economic model in the world that we live in.
Yeah.
And so let's work with what we have, and let's create the freedom and the abundance and the compassion and the liberation using the tools that we have. and have joy creating it, not fear or not shame or not guilt. Tithe back, give back, but charge what it is that feels right for you.
Makes sense.
There were two other things. One is that you can reverse engineer sometimes, because I want to tell everybody, and this is one that we forget maybe, John, like you don't have to work double to double the amount of money that you are going to bring in. In fact, many times it's easier once you've made that first 10,000 a month, it's really far easier than you probably know to get to 20,000, for example. And when you allow something like that to come into your consciousness, you begin to reverse engineer how might that happen. And it may be that you actually work less because of the creativity that gets provoked as a result of that bigger number. So you start, your mind is so amazing in the iterations and the configurations that can come. And yeah, maybe you're charging less on the hour, but you're serving more people. I mean, so many different things can happen, but I just want to share a couple details that may not be obvious.
It's good, Lucia. Good luck with that. Yeah, you're fantastic, and what a beautiful heart you have. And mind as well. I can tell you're smart. You're smart.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Lisa, this takes me also to quite a few years back, over a decade back. It's, I was in the mindset that I'd save up to go on vacation and might be able to travel if this came through, and the certain amount of vacation days per year. And if not, I was supposed to be responsible. I needed to take care of this or this other thing. And it was like the kind of barely getting by. But when I started opening, it's like, no, this calling to New Zealand, or this calling to Bali, or this calling to fly to Hawaii, or this other has another purpose that isn't just this frivolous kind of escapism type of thing. Once I started saying, you know what, I'm going to invest in myself. I know I'm investing in myself. And once I started doing that, it became so easy. And I started taking all these trips to all these different places, and it was always supported. Always something grew from it. And my bank account may not have grown exponentially, but the experiences brought opportunities that allow my bank account to grow exponentially. It's kind of like Lisa finding a publisher, sharing her passion when she's not even looking for one. And tell us that story, Lisa. How did your book wind up coming out through a major publisher?
Yeah, so 3 years ago, I was starting this work and doing Infinite Abundance, and I was interviewed about it, interesting enough. And an agent heard that interview, a literary agent, and she reached out to me and she said, hey, would you consider writing a book? And when you're in the public eye, you never know if people are just trying to take you for the cleaners or something. But I was pretty excited, and I said, I'd love to. I'm writing now, but I'm actually not that great of a writer. And she's like, I know. And she said, but your concepts and what you're teaching is so good. I think there's a story here. And she literally, we signed a deal, and she nurtured me for 3 years, and ultimately helped me write a book proposal, and we put it out to all the major publishers in the world. And St. Martin's Press came back with an incredible offer. I mean, for an unpublished author with less than, not a huge platform, it's unheard of, you guys. And when she called me, this is what's so funny. My agent called me to tell me this one offer that had come in. She said, are you sitting down? And she had thought we might get $15,000 for, and she said, that would be a really, really great deal for someone like you. And it was like 3+ times that number. And I said, wait, did you say, and she goes, no, I said this. And I was like, what's happening? And she goes, I honestly don't know, but this is really good. And literally magic. It's like when you know that you just keep showing up over and over and over again, following your passion, what I have seen is that you don't have to worry about the details. The details come to you when the time is right, when you're right to be in service. And that's what the book showed me. And yes, I told John right when we started, I'm getting calls from people who are using the Mindful Millionaire with their therapist because things are being awakened that they didn't even know. And I never even dreamt of the book being used that way. But because I go so deep into the relationship with money, it's awakening things that people just had never even realized were holding them back. And that was my dream.
Yeah, amazing. And again, amazing the magic that shows up as we show up, and there's not the hyper control of it, or the hyper fear of it. And when the balance starts and we start getting into, oh, we know how to swim in these waters. And if not, the support comes in to help us navigate deeper waters than perhaps what we're used to. Again, I always like to use the phrase, we always fall on the feather bed every time we jump in. So it's amazing. It's amazing all the support that we have from so many different realms in this type of work. Hey, I'm going to take another caller here in a second. And again, I have to remind y'all the special offer. Y'all have to take advantage of it. The link again is in April. I think I'm going to beat you to it. I did. I typed it into the chat box. Click on the link, get on the special offer, go to the live page, click on the special offer button, or go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Leisa23 to get in and start receiving that abundance mindset and embodiment, truly, of what's coming through. And the next caller, Beth, I'm going to call on Beth. Tell me, do you have an online presence, don't you?
Yes.
That's why I wanted to call on you. Okay, what's your question for Leisa?
Okay, great. I have had some wins with money over the last few years, up leveling, but I feel like I'm not like quantum shifting the way that I've really sort of wanted to. I sort of keep growing, then I go back and keep growing and go back. And I find the resistance I have is a lot of the tools for money and manifesting money I learned are so focused on money and like, okay, thinking about how much money and how does that feel. And with my sort of feminine energy, it feels a little bit jarring and I end up not wanting to do those practices. I want to work with my angels. I want to go to the trees, but I know that they work when I do them. So that's kind of where I'm at.
So tell me about systems. You're going to not love, but.
Thank you. I love this. Well, and I want to interject for a second because I'm familiar, this roller coaster of the coaches teaching coaches how to make money and following the systems. And then there's the whole comparison thing and people posting, acting like they're so successful and going to all these places. And then it's not. Why does it work for them and not for me? Why does it supposedly work for them?
Yeah.
And not for me.
Okay. Thank you. Because I work with so many people and people come to me and they're very vulnerable. Touche, John. A lot of people propose themselves in one way, but we don't always really know the truth. So
and there's an aspect, and I want to get into your question, Beth. And there's the aspect also of where people are creating a lot of flow coming in, but they're spending so much more to create that flow. So I'm a 7-figure coach, but they're spending 7.1 to Facebook ads, through Instagram stuff, through joint venture launches and all this. And they're finding that they're expending a lot of energy. The health is deteriorating. The relationships are deteriorating. They look beautiful because of all their beautiful pictures that they've taken with the photographer that they paid $5,000 for, but they're running at a deficit financially. And then it's this big farce of trying to maintain an image. It's not everybody, but I see it a lot.
Yeah, it's but here the question, even with what he said, Beth, I think what I was curious about in your business, because I'll just kind of give you my take of what you're describing, and I see this a lot. Some of us, I use human design a lot too to help me explain this, but some of us are very upper chakra oriented, and that's what you've described. It's like, this is in flow, this feels awesome. But when you get into the lower chakras, you notice that there's some hiccups, there's some kind of fragmentation, if you will. And what I was curious about in your business is, have you been able to create systems in your business that support create a strong foundation for all that money to come in that you're wanting?
Yeah, I think it goes on and off. Today I just sat down and just sort of redid my like, okay, this is how much money came in, the last few days. This is my budget. And I kind of haven't had that for about 6 months. And then I get in these phases where I'm like, okay, this feels so good. And I do it and I see those results. And like, I'm hoping that I can just really allow it to stick more and more as I do that lower chakra work. But I do find I'll just kind of throw that out after 2 or 3 months and be like, oh, like, just still not committing.
Yeah. So sometimes we can complement this with partners, with bookkeepers, with other people that help us with the financial management. But I will tell you, even yesterday, I was having a conversation with an attorney that I work with a lot. And I mean, she's got a 7-figure business. And she told me that she literally spends 3 hours a month on average, maybe more, going through everything herself. And what she has noticed is that if she doesn't pay attention to the money and she does her own bookkeeping, which I do too, my own, because I like to see what's, just like you said, what's coming in, what's going out. But she was very clear that the reason she was able to get to the 7 figures was because of her attention and attention, intention with money consistently on a weekly, daily basis. She knows what's going on. And that has been proven to lead to greater financial success over time.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. And I just bought your offer. So I feel like that'll help if there's any sort of resistance to just really showing up. Hopefully can just do some deeper work. So I'm just like on it because it does work.
Yeah, and reach out. I mean, send me a note. You'll have my email address. So I ask you to tell me how it's going during the process. So yeah.
It's wonderful. Beth, thank you so much and good luck with everything.
Thanks.
Yeah, doing great work. I see some of your stuff out there. It looks great. All right. Leisa, I got off on my tangent of online marketing. I'm sorry. It's like, it can be frustrating. Well, it creates so much suffering in different ways. And the transparency, again, Beth, your transparency is so helpful for so many of us. I mean, we all go through the comparison and the different waves of good flows, and then the flow kind of stops. And for me, Leisa, also what I've learned, it's the long game. If 1 month is kind of crappy or 2 or 3 months, but then the year wraps up, there's a trust that you build within yourself and a rhythm as well. And instead of judging the micros, see how you're supporting. And sometimes the downtimes actually have that creative spurt that stimulate a new opportunity that perhaps wouldn't have existed had you not had that quiet time constantly running the system. So there's a beautiful organic method to it as well. And I know Lisa's going to address so much in the program. So I'm glad that you're taking it. Lisa, I think I do want to do the meditation. It sounds wonderful. So if y'all want to join us, let's get into that. And before we do that, we're going to run the replay. We'll send the replay link out a little bit later this evening in the email, so y'all can come back and listen. And of course, Lisa's offer, the link is in the chat box and lots of different places. Find it there. Or again, type it into your URL. Your URL, that's so weird. beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Leisa, Leisa. 23, the number 23. It'll land on the same page. Click yes, I want to register, or go all the way down to the bottom. It's $97 and you'll start getting access. 4 a.m. Lisa, you're in my inbox. Awesome.
That's awesome. So ready?
I'm ready, yes.
Awesome. So even before we start, just focusing on your body, getting into a comfy, cozy position, and focusing on your breath as you relax and settle in. And I also want to invite and invoke all of the abundance that is surrounding each and every one of us to be flowing in through our breath as we breathe in abundance and breathe out abundance. Just feeling that awaken deeper understanding as you settle into the connection with your truest self in this moment. And as you tune into your awareness, I invite you to take a moment to ground your energy. You might do a little root lock squeeze or squeeze your hands and feet and just bring your energy into your body awareness. And then letting that go, settling in. And also noticing your body from the crown of your head all the way down your chest, your back, into your sit bones, down to your feet, toes, tips of fingers. And we're going to go ahead and tune into the chakras, just noticing, bringing our awareness starting in the root chakra, this red, spinning, vibrant disc, Mother Earth energy connected at the base of the perineum. And just notice that area, that attention to your feelings of safety and security, how you feel in this moment, giving yourself love and attention in this area. You are safe. You are supported. Moving up into the sacral, the lower belly, this orange spinning disc, water healing element, tuning into your creative source and these feelings of worthiness, noticing. This is the area that we can tune into our feelings, our deepest sense of worthy. I'm worthy to feel the feels. I'm worthy of receiving. Moving up into the solar plexus, this yellow, fiery, spinning disc. The sense of power, your ability to feel powerful with money. Tuning into that energy, noticing that it is a part of you, even if you resist it. It's still there, maybe more dormant, but we're just activating that energy, awakening the fire within. Moving up into the heart channel wheel, this green, spacious room, the giving and receiving cycle. Noticing how we can hold on to resentments or guilt or uncomfortable feelings that cause us to feel like we need to give rather than receive. We're just opening up the heart channel wheel, opening up this idea that I can receive. I can give and then I can receive. It's a complete cycle, and I'm open to that energy in my life. It feels good. It reinforces the appreciation that I feel towards myself and towards others, and allowing others to appreciate me. Moving up into the lower parts of the throat, the sky blue in color, tuning into this sense of trust, trusting yourself. Speaking your truth, expression, being able to feel a sense of significance in your life. It's like giving yourself permission to feel that in this moment. And breathing into that, you can feel the air circulating in the throat. And moving up to the third eye, to the area, the pineal gland. This indigo color swirling disc that's bringing all these aspects of yourself together. Your intuitive guidance, all the wisdom that you've gained in this lifetime and past, all coming together to feel this sense of, I am enough. I am enough. Allowing that to soak into every fiber of your being. I am enough. And moving into the crown chakra activation, just outside the crown, the divine connection, this sense of I am enough and I am abundant. Realizing the true nature of your reality is prosperity, is abundance, accessible to you at any moment. Instantaneously, the realization, I am infinitely abundant. Just feeling that energy swirling. You can almost imagine like a figure 8, where the 8 is crossing at the heart. Just that energy is circulating from the crown of the head down through the heart, back to the back side, down and up. And just feel that energy running. This infinity symbol of all that you are energetically, physically, spiritually in this moment. Feeling it from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers to the crown of your head. Breathing in and breathing out. And as you're ready, you can begin to relax your concentration and come back in to your body awareness, into the sacred space that we've created together, into this now moment. Namaste.
Namaste, Leisa. Namaste, everyone. Beautiful call. Thank you all so much, Leisa. Thank you for what you're doing and what beautiful spiritual work that you're bringing to us. So grateful to you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, such an honor. Y'all have a fantastic evening. Come back and listen to the replay. Dive into the special offer. You'll find it. And blessings. Y'all just create that abundance in your life. It's just time. You deserve all the love in the world in all the forms in which it chooses to express. Love you guys. See you on the next call.